Now, your SEO is very important. Now, you can check your weekly search appearances below your summary, and you can see how many times you come up in searches as a result of your profile. And you can monitor this on a weekly basis. It won't surprise you to know this is the most in the world, because this is what we do for a living. But you can actually monitor your own. And you can see amongst yourselves who's the most searched profile, for example. And you can often do this by adding positions in, for example. So what we do is add in all our positions in different countries where we do work. So we get found in those countries, whether that's in Sydney or Melbourne or London, for example. And then you add in things like keywords, like personal branding. So out of 65,000 people, I get found because I got personal branding in my title and my headline and my experience. So LinkedIn works the same as Google. It works on SEO, but it only works on SEO if you put the names and the words you want to be found for into your profile. If you don't, you can't get found. LinkedIn doesn't have that kind of fantastic optimization, but it does find things if you put it in your profile. Then you want to create a content marketing plan. And you need a plan, you can't just be random. So 411 is what we believe, what LinkedIn believe, what Twitter, Facebook, Instagram believe is the best way of engaging people on a regular basis. And that is basically one hard sell post about Scape, one soft sell post about, say, maybe about youth culture, for example. So it's linked, but it's not linked, and it's not directly selling Scape, for example. And then 4 unrelated posts. And those unrelated posts are sharing meaningful content that gives you permission to then share the hard sell post. So you need to build up that kind of kudos and that kind of resonance to basically make sure that basically when you hit that hard sell post, that people are still engaging with you, people are following you, and people like what you actually do say. And then you want to blog, you want to share, you look at someone like Christy Lestout, for example. She obviously posts lots of things about her news, but she gets real engagement when she shares something personal. So when she shared about Anthony Bourdain or Kate Spade, she made it personal and it was business and professional at the same time. She got much more engagement. Customer experience here in Singapore. The whole Grab debate, for example. Eva O posted about how Grab were ripping people off and got 300,000 views and it's still going viral. Just by literally posting something which actually happened to her, which also happened to hundreds and thousands of other people at the same time. So it's empathy in a business context. Or this one here, which happened to me, for example. I went to a Japanese restaurant in Asia Square and they served Perrier Jouet champagne in a Moet and Chandon glass. And when I asked them why they'd done this, they said they hadn't broken all the Moet and Chandon glasses yet. I kid you not. I said, so that means you do actually have Perrier Jouet glasses? They said, yes. So why don't you use them? Oh, we haven't broken the other ones yet. It's like, oh dear. So I shared this on LinkedIn, and the Perrier Jouet director wrote to me and said, name the restaurant. If you name the restaurant, I'll give you a crate of champagne. So I happily named the restaurant, got a nice crate of champagne, which I shared with my team, and they were told to smash all their Moet and Chandon glasses, because you can imagine how many people then jumped for champagne on Instagram with Moet and Chandon glasses with Perrier Jouet champagne inside. That's not what you should be doing. And you should be being yourself. You know, it's very much about, you know, communicating authenticity, taking pictures when you see opportunities. A great example. This got me 5 clients, this one photograph. This post does not even mention my company. They got me 5 clients because I was in Hong Kong in the Ritz-Carlton, and I turned up, my room wasn't ready, and I wanted to meet people. And they apologized sincerely and said, I'm sorry, but you can have our boardroom for free, and we normally charge you for this. Bearing in mind, this is the Ritz-Carlton, it's the tallest hotel in the world, it's an amazing hotel, and normally they charge for it. So I had all my meetings in this wonderful boardroom, and I won clients as a result of it. People were very impressed that I could afford this boardroom, which I wasn't paying for. But I did this post saying how amazing the customer service was in Hong Kong for the Ritz-Carlton. Next day, it got over 54,000 views and about 35 people also saying the same thing. Saying, yeah, the Ritz-Carlton has amazing customer service, it's absolutely fantastic. More importantly, the guy who owns the Ritz-Carlton in Hong Kong actually saw it and demanded a meeting the next day. And Rico de Blanc here on the left, all in white, actually became a client as a result of it, because he was so impressed that you could do a photograph and get 54,000 views on something which is basically business. He became a client, and so did the Hong Kong Ritz-Carlton, so did the Hong Kong W, so did the Ritz-Carlton in Shanghai. So one photograph led to 5 clients, just by having one powerful photograph. That's the power of authenticity and people noticing it. So you need to be spontaneous and authentic, and even on a Sunday. Don't let people tell you you can't do posts on a Sunday even on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is still social. Now, multinationals might not be checking it, but entrepreneurs and SMEs like you might be. So I went to Japan a few weeks ago, and this happened to me. Basically, first time ever in Asia, they opened my bag and started going through every one of these books. I kid you not. These 2 guys here stood there going, There must be something in this. There must be something in this. Obviously, you watch too many James Bond movies where they cut out the paper and the cocaine or the keys inside or something. And go, there's nothing inside. There's nothing inside. And so they basically went through this. They went through my business cards, the same thing. They thought my business cards also would have something in it. Literally, I was there for 20 minutes. And I quickly took this photograph and they told me off for it. And I quickly shared it on LinkedIn before they could tell me to delete it. If it was done here, I'd probably be put in prison. But they didn't notice very well. So it worked in terms of engagement because I did this post on a Sunday and so many people read it and thought it was amazing. Got like 40,000 views and like hundreds of people like basically liking and commenting saying, oh yes, I got stopped here. And interestingly, of these comments here, people were saying, yes, I got stopped in Singapore, I got stopped in LA, I got stopped in New York, I got stopped. And they all had stories. So basically it was an empathy basically of other people traveling in business and people telling me the stories about how they got stopped and why they got stopped. And interestingly, 6 people also had books. So obviously if you have books and you're traveling, it's a dangerous thing. Obviously you're not allowed to travel with books. People have been watching all those spy movies. And obviously when I come back to Singapore every now and again, you know, you take the wonderful Terminal 3, which I think is the greatest terminal in the whole of the world because you come there and there's no queues. And it's like the only place to go in the world and there's no queues. It's just like you walk in and they just walk out straight away. And obviously anyone who works or lives in Singapore can relate to that, especially after, say, a 13 or 14-hour flight. You come in, there's no queues, you're in the taxi, you're home in 20 minutes. Nowhere else in the world does this happen. Hong Kong, Sydney, Shanghai, London, New York, nowhere. And obviously you can crowdsource as well. So when we launched Rockstar, I went out there with the logos we were proposing for Rockstar. It had a really interesting reaction. So I proposed this here and said, oh, we're launching a female brand. In my naivety, I thought that pink would be a great color. No, pink was a terrible color. And I literally got, of these 41,000 people, 190 comments, I think 189 said, do not use pink, Chris. One person said use pink. Nobody else said use pink. As a result of it, we have not used pink. We used blue and red as a result of it, or kind of purple and red. But that's how you can share content. You can share, you know, in a professional context, get people to get ideas on your business ideas. It's brilliant because you do get that kind of feedback because you might make an assumption, and we went with the cross between that one and the end, for example, but a lot of people like this one but didn't like the fact it had a blonde woman there. And I got people saying, no, can it be an Asian woman? I got some African Americans going, can it be African American? How many people can I fit in this? I can't put all nationalities into this little symbol here. So we went with no woman at all, but we're focusing on female speakers. So it's great for crowdsourcing as well. And it's great for sharing your passions. You know, when I went to Hong Kong to see Guns N' Roses, I shared that because I put it in a business context about brand loyalty, for example. I saw them 30 years ago when they used to come on stage like 2 hours late and drunk and smashing their things up and played for half an hour and then go off. Now they come in at 8 o'clock, they do 3 hours a show and they go off at 11 o'clock and they're very professional because they're picking up $5 million a time. They didn't used to pick up $5 million a time. And it's about kind of sharing that through things like video, for example, which works very well. Or even this. This was my first ever proper job. Best job in the world. I worked at a concert venue in London, which actually had lots of mega concerts. But I used the screen, which normally actually used to promote concerts, to talk about Freddie Mercury when he died. And where I used to work at Hammersmith, millions of people go past it on the flyover. So I posted that because I still kept it because it was picked up by the media. And then I talked about the passion I had for my first job, which is obviously relatable to LinkedIn. So you can share things and tell stories on LinkedIn, which is personal, but also in a business and professional context, which really works. And then you look at how you amplify your thoughts of what you do outside of LinkedIn on LinkedIn. So we have 1990. 1990 is, of the 100 people in a room, for example, only 1% will actually create content and share content. Only 1%. This is LinkedIn, this is Facebook, Instagram, this is YouTube, 1%. 9% will like, share, and comment. And then 90% of people will do nothing at all. So think about that. If you are the 1%, you are very much setting the tone. You're the leader. So we need you at Scape to be the leaders of Scape and the leaders of your content marketing to help the marketing team promote Scape, for example. You look at someone like Stephanie, for example. She does an amazing job. You think about her position. She's a female lawyer in Singapore, which is very conservative and very male-dominated. But she's actually out there with her very charismatic brand, you know, pushing herself, basically leading a law firm, and she has governments as clients, for example, so she has to be very careful what she says. Whenever she's in the business times, she shares it on LinkedIn, because she wants you to know that she's an influential leader. And you should listen to her, and she runs a fantastic business, and actually she is noticed by people in power, and in position, actually people listen to what she says. And she projects that on LinkedIn brilliantly. She's the American lawyer, she shares it. If her team are in it, she shares it too. Even when she's quoted elsewhere, she shares it on LinkedIn. because more people will read her Business Times column on LinkedIn than in the Business Times. Because basically nobody reads the Business Times. Because obviously subscription, oh, the aircon's just gone up. This is where the heat's now going to go up, isn't it? Personalizing created content as well. So if you share something on LinkedIn, curate it and actually share what you like about it as well. And then amplify it. So as I was with Howie Lim on Money FM, for example, I actually let people know I was going to be on Howie Lim's Money FM because nobody listens to Money FM. So it's actually you have more kudos by being on LinkedIn. It's true. By being on LinkedIn and saying I'm going to be there, and I actually recorded it and then put it on LinkedIn, and I can guarantee more people listen to my interview on LinkedIn recorded than actually did in real life with Howie Lim. Videos, podcasts, share on LinkedIn because you amplify it. And you can do before, during, and after. So as a chairman of the video marketing, you say, I'm going to be here. And then you say, what's going to be the event's going to be. And then you do something at the end of the event. So you're telling people a story about what you're doing and how you're actually doing it. Even things like employer branding. We employ lots of interns. So when this intern, Audrey, left, we did a post about how great an intern she was to attract other interns, for example. Even other people's passions. Went to the Affordable Art Fair, went around talking to artists and shared their passions as well. And then tagging influencers. So it's really, really easy to tag influencers. Just do an @ symbol and put the influencer in. So if you take a photograph today and want to share it, want me to see it, and you do this, I come up and then I get a little notification saying you have actually shared it. It works phenomenally well. So if you look at Simone Heng, for example. Simone Heng has an amazing following on LinkedIn, very engaged following, very different following to me, shall we say. And she came to our office to engage my team, interview a couple of members, and we did a joint photograph. And I could tell from the 15,000 people who viewed this, which ones were her followers and which ones were my followers. Let's just say my followers had lots of intelligence. So you can tag lots of other people at that same time. So Andrew Pickup's very good at doing this, which is a Microsoft post. He basically tags everybody who works for Microsoft or anybody he thinks can influence Microsoft, because that's his job, communications, corporate communications at Microsoft. And then occasionally I kind of hijack it by basically tagging him back and basically putting in a photograph of me so I get into the feed. And obviously that tagging and hashtagging and getting in there through things like this works phenomenally well. Even to the extent where in events, for example, you can basically promote every single person at that event. So they get notification that you've actually promoted their event. You get notifications like this. You get emails, you get mentioned in a post, mentioned you in the comments, liked a post that mentions you. So it's very, very easy to basically get engagement with people on LinkedIn you want to get engagement for. You can also hashtag topics. So LinkedIn now does hashtags like Twitter. And basically, things like, you can follow things like social media marketing, social selling. So basically, Scape should be using this to own certain keywords, for example. And you can see when you're following it, because it comes at the top. So if you mention something and you're following that, it'll come up in your feed, basically. Or someone searches for it, it'll come up in the feed as well.